We're gonna do a book club stream. I should probably hold it this way. We're gonna do a book club stream. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, this has already happened. And if you're on Twitch right now, this is happening right now. That's how the internet works. You see why I don't like doing YouTube videos? Can you imagine how many times I have to do an intro?
I'm back, baby.
We're gonna do a little book club stream. Our March book was Lore by Alexandra Bracken. This was phenomenal. This was see, here's the thing too, is I really should have like refreshed myself on this book, because this is now, it's only 3 books ago, but like it also feels like a lifetime, because I feel like These Violent Delights took me 6 months to read. It was a very long 2 weeks. But this was so fucking good. Can I just tell you, first off, let's just, right off the bat. So Lore was published by Hyperion, and in my brain, I went, oh, okay, Disney. It's published by Disney. So it's gonna be like a Disney movie, kind of like a Hercules kind of feel, like it's gonna be feel good and like for like a middle grade maybe. And then literally page 1 is a fucking bloodbath. And I went, maybe this isn't published by Disney. It's not. I as soon as I read the prologue and that battle scene, I was like, oh, let me look this up. Hyperion is no longer owned by Disney. They were at one time. I'm not completely crazy. They were at one time, but they no longer are. Figured that out pretty quick. What is it about, if you don't mind me asking? That's probably a really great place for me to start, is what this book is about. See, the question here is, do I read the synopsis or do I try to come up with one? Because I don't know how to explain things. So it's like it's not what I would call a retelling. I'm gonna try and explain this book. Okay, so Lore is about Lore. Her name is, the main character's name is Lore. This is gonna be great. The main character's name is Lore. It's like it's a modern day. You know what? No, I'm not doing this. I refuse. Nope. No. I'm not even gonna, nope. Okay. Here's what the book's, if you haven't read it. Every 7 years, the Aegon begins. As punishment for a past rebellion, 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals. They're hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. Long ago, Lore Perseus fled that brutal world, turning her back on the hunt's promises of eternal glory after her family was murdered by a rival line. For years, she's pushed away any thought of revenge against the man, now a god, responsible for their deaths. Yet as the next hunt dawns over New York City, 2 participants seek her out. Castor, a childhood friend Lore believed to be dead, and Athena, one of the last of the original gods, now gravely wounded. The goddess offers Lore an alliance against their mutual enemy and a way to leave the Aegon behind forever, but Lore's decision to rejoin the hunt, binding her fate to Athena's, will come at a deadly cost, and it may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to bring humanity to its knees. There you go. I wasn't even gonna try. And that's another thing, is that's the first time I read that, because I don't read, a lot of times these days, I don't read the synopsis before I start. I had a general understanding that this was something to do with Greek gods and goddesses. It was modern day. That's it. That's what I went into this with. Total blank slate. Hence me thinking it was published by Disney and was going to be a children's book. And I'm glad I didn't read that, because like meeting Castor, like without knowing that he was going to be a thing, meeting Athena without knowing she was going to be a thing, I really like that. So yeah, immediately realized not published by Disney. That was actually really great. I was very happy about that, because the fighting, the violence in this book is really, there's some really good fight scenes in this. I love the way she worked in Greek mythology. I love all the gods. I love both the new gods and the originals. Athena is one of the best characters that I've read in a long time. FYI, I probably should have started with this. We're gonna, major spoilers. If you haven't read this and you plan to and you don't want to be spoiled, we're gonna get into major spoiler territory, like, immediately. I love tall women, like big, tall women. One of my favorite lines in this book is sort of about how tall she is. I love her. I love her so much. I've been waiting for a good spoiler chat. That is exactly what we're gonna do. Yeah, Athena's one of the best written characters that I've seen in a long time. Both as, like, a mentor and then immediately, or not even like, but like very quickly switching to as a villain. Oh, so good. Oh my god, I love everything about her. The characters in this book are all phenomenal. I don't think there's one character in this book that like I thought wasn't necessary or was poorly written or didn't have enough time. Like, everybody was so good. And I'm gonna be mad at myself because I'm gonna forget character names and I'll have to ask you guys to help me out with some of them. Like, oh my god, why am I forgetting Miles's boyfriend? Van, thank you. That was gonna, yeah. Because isn't it short for Evander, now that I hear that? The two of them, as soon as they met, I was like, boyfriends. I need this. Love them so much. I love Castor, Lore, and Athena is like, it feels like the cop-out to say they're the best characters because they're the main characters, but like, they are though. But like, they are in every way. The way the story progresses and like the way she kind of meets out information like bit by bit about what really happened, you know, X amount of years ago. It took me a while to catch on to how old Lore was. I thought she was like significantly older than she is. I think she's only supposed to be like 20 or something. And I thought she was like mid to late 20s because of how the early book talks about her. But I was just very happy not to be reading about a 16-year-old for once. I do like reading about adults sometimes, and I'll call 20 an adult. We'll call that an adult. Is she 18? No, she's 20. She's 20 in my head. I'm not changing it. She's 20. I'm not reading about teenagers. Not doing it. No, ma'am. No, this was so good, though. Like, the way that she works, like, mythology into the new stuff and, like, the modern day stuff, and, like, just the way that these families all interact with each other and the way that they take on the powers of whatever god they kill, and then like just it's very believable in like the shittiest ways, like the way that they revolve around money and status, and it's like the worst, but in a way that you're like, yeah, no, this is absolutely how this would play out. This would not be, we would not have a bunch of benevolent gods out here. You didn't like it, Edo. We will get to that. I saw your name in the reviews. We will get to you. We will talk about how wrong you are. Ooh. Don't tell me that, Steven. She's 21. She's 21 years old. I refuse to believe she's younger than that. I am gonna bask in the knowledge that she is an adult. She's an adult. It's been a while since I had a reaction as strong as I did to finding out that Athena killed her family. Like, that kind of like that devastation and betrayal and like yelling at the book as you're reading it and like not wanting to believe it as it's happening. So good. Like, in the worst ways, but still it just was very enjoyable. I don't know, the way she writes plot is really good. The way she writes characters and their interactions with each other is very good. There's just like, this was like a 5-star all around, because like I think when we get into the reviews we talk about like writing styles, plot, characters, you know, what do you think of each? 5 stars cross the board, all of them. And then Lore's friend that from the other family that took her in, who I'm also forgetting, loved her too. Like, she had a very limited sort of scope in the book, but I still felt like she had the right amount of time and she had her due. Iroh, thank you. It was a good reveal. Athena, everything about her was definitely, Athena was so good. I know that she's a villain, she's a bad person, she killed her family, but like, Athena though. Athena. I think the hardest part of the book was probably, was what was easily, objectively, the hardest part of the book is finding out why Lore had to kill a grown man and like leave her whole community. That was really very unexpected and very upsetting. That was not, but it was not nearly as jarring as similar scenes in Ninth House, which I still think about, and does kind of bring me to like the idea of books don't really have trigger warnings and why that is. Like, why not have a trigger warning for things like that early in the book? Like, hey, this is a thing that's in the plot, just FYI. It's very, I don't want to say it's very light in this book, but it does, like, it doesn't happen, you know? Like, she kills a man so that it doesn't happen. But still, a lot. But the other one that I mentioned that was very jarring, if that's what you're asking about, Professor, was Ninth House. That one comes so far out of left field and is so graphic and, like, it's very unexpected. It's very, a lot. It's a lot. They allude to it being a possibility when Lore goes to Castor's house, and they have the little muse girls. That's the other part. Like, that was so... And, like, that's a good, like... What a good introduction for Castor of, like... Yes, this is the bare minimum, but I'm glad you're trying to put a stop to, like, parading little girls for marriage. Maybe we don't need to do this. Maybe we let this 8-year-old be an 8-year-old. Thanks, Castor. That's a solid character introduction. Like, that's a solid way to introduce a character and be like, okay, we're supposed to like him. Good to know. So, that was super all over the place because this has been a while ago, so that's probably going to get mostly cut out, and then I'm just going to put in your guys' reviews and talk about that. But all that to say, this is a very good book. I enjoyed it a lot. I really, really love standalones. I love not having to deal with cliffhanger endings. Like, I love a good series, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of series behind me. I love a good series. But, like, this is nice. A standalone, one and done. It's already out. You don't have to wait for anything else to be released. I love it. It's a fully contained story. It's not super, super long. It's like 400 some odd pages. Yeah, it's almost just over 450 pages. This was good. This was really, really good. I think most of us thought that, but there might be a couple in here who didn't. And we're coming for you with the pitchforks. So let's open the reviews. Not to, like, out everybody's names, but there's everybody that did it. 2 finds in 45 minutes. Okay, so most of us read this one physical. Who was our only ebook reader?
Excellent!
Can we out you? It doesn't tell me who it was. I could go look, but I haven't. Thank you for the host. Thank you, Laxus. Thank you, thank you. Almost everybody finished. Who's the one DNF? Oh, because you ran out of time. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Most of us gave it a solid 5-star. Well, yeah, most of us gave it 5 stars. Okay, so almost all of us were in that 4 and 5 star mark. Oh, we're gonna fight. Oh, we're gonna fight. Somebody is getting beat up. Somebody's getting beat the fuck up. No ma'am. No ma'am, you're wrong. Almost, well, okay, good. Oh, just over half of us would reread it. Maybe someday 2 of you would not. Although, Edo, is one of these you because you don't believe in rereading books like a freaking heathen? I'm guessing one of these is Edo. We are gonna fight so hard, sir, okay? No, look at us. Look at all of us over here, okay? This is the Cool Kids Club. This is the Cool Kids Club right here with our 4 and 5 stars for the story. That we all loved everybody. We all loved everything. Characters, everybody, they're all so good. You can't not love the characters. Even our 1-star reviewer was like, the characters get a 2. The characters are 5 stars. They're 5-star characters, all of them. Every single one of them. Writing style, 4 for the most part. 5 for, okay, so 4 and 5. I like, pretty much all of us were 4 and 5 stars across the board. I am going to kill whoever was the 1 star. And a couple 3 stars. All right, are we gonna get into this? Really enjoyed reading this, actually. Sometimes standalone books feel a little rushed or the pacing feels a little off, but I feel like I did a good job keeping the plot moving and engaging. The characters were nicely developed. I really liked the interactions between the main 4. My babies, all of them. But it bothered me how everyone had a nickname. I mean, that's fine. Melora's Laura, Vander's Van, Castor's Cass, Miles was short for something. Was Miles short for something? I knew the plot things were sort of predictable. I figured she had the shield a third of the way into the book and that Apollo gave his power to Cass. I feel like Apollo giving his power to Cass, I think we all called that. That being said, there were other plot lines I did not see coming. Athena. And I liked that it wasn't too predictable overall. Solid. I loved it minus the ending. I mean, it just ended. It being the Aegon, there were moments where I was like, oh, I know it'll happen, and that death didn't happen. I feel like that was the whole point, though. Like, the whole idea was to end the Aegon. Like, that was the overarching, like, in a dream scenario, the best ending, you know, that they all wanted was to just get rid of the Aegon. And that's what happened, you know? That's what happened. Had a very middling experience reading this book. For me, the positives and negatives pretty much balanced out, but I admit to feeling pretty strongly about each end of the spectrum, so here goes! The basic setting of the book worked for me. I find Greek mythology or lore, interesting, even as I actively do not ever read up on it. I liked the way the author integrated it as well. While it was obvious that I could have had a better experience had I bothered to just do a little bit of research going into this book, Miss Bracken did not lay it on very thick, so nobody should feel lost while reading. I like the characters well enough, although I wish there had been more character-centric time spent within the book. I definitely liked Athena the most, regardless of spoiler territory, because her utter disdain for all of us was entertaining to read, but all the core characters were very enjoyable. Structurally, there was both good and bad. The biggest weakness to me was how much of the book was devoted solely to pushing the action and plot forward. I also felt there were a few too many mini cliffhangers that picked up at the start of the next chapter, literally seconds later. Definitely a pet peeve, but mostly I wish there had been less emphasis on the action and more on character interaction that did not revolve around the plot. I disagree, but I understand, which makes this a good time to point out my favorite parts of the book, where I also think the strongest writing took place. The prologue, so good, did a nice job of throwing us directly into what was happening and had a unique writing style as compared to the rest of the book. And the flashbacks! With the exception of the last one, I thought these showed up at the right time to break from the main story, add insight into what was happening, and generally just get to know some of the characters better. The last one felt completely unnecessary, as it was a mere 1.5 pages retelling a scene we had known from Lore's perspective for most of the book, and had watched from Spoiler's perspective. What the hell's the last pack? For better or for worse, I was having a back and forth experience in most of the book, but the ending really brought things down for me. Based upon the rules set forth by this world, there was one thing that Lore needed to avoid to have a chance at a happy ending, and that would be to kill a god. So when she was faced with a choice to sacrifice her human status to save the city, it was a pretty big moment. Ms. Bracken did not need to write the story to make that happen. She chose to do so, so we all knew that a sad ending, or at least a melancholy ending, was coming. Until Lore said that she didn't want the world to still work that way, and the fates just apparently agreed with her. I didn't feel that the story earned this sudden shift to a happy ending, and I really think that it robbed Lore's sacrifice of any meaning. It irked me, and I cannot change that. Again, I disagree, but I understand. While I do not agree with some of the things, I do understand your point of view. You're not inherently incorrect. You know? You're not inherently incorrect. It was Athena's sacrifice to save the city, not Lore's. That's kind of what I got out of it as well. Like, it was a moment for both of them. Because it was, I mean, it really was Lore and Athena's story. Like, it is obviously Lore's story. But it's definitely her and Athena together. So that, I liked it. I liked it. I'm not used to writing positive reviews. Is this Steven? Why do I feel like this is Steven? Lore was epic. I fucking knew it was you. I knew it was you immediately. I love the concept. I thought it was a really interesting modern take on the Greek gods. The Aegon made it feel like they were real and weighty consequences to the story. I'm also glad the story retained the violence and brutality of many Greek myths, as it could have easily been watered down. Almost like it would have been had it been published, like, by Disney, maybe. That would be weird. You know. I tend to love any media that uses New York City well, so I obviously loved Lore's setting. Bracken picked some of the city's best hidden gems to set Lore's big scenes in. I feel like when I'm there for Comic-Con next time, like, I have to take, like, a Lore tour. It has to happen. Best part of the book was definitely the characters. By the end of the book, we knew exactly who everyone was. We understood their choices and their motivations. I loved Melora and Athena, I almost said unpredictable. In particular, Melora is incredibly strong and was able to triumph over her trauma while fighting the literal patriarchy of the Aegon. I can't even believe I didn't immediately start this by talking about the feminism in this book. Beautiful. Athena, while a monster by nature, was also a tragic figure. I think Bracken did an amazing job in writing Athena's motivations, and before we discovered the big twist, I thought Athena and Miles were a hilarious odd couple. They really were. Shout out to Castor for being hot, literally and figuratively. Honestly, love him. Love him so much. The small, itty-bitty complaint I have about Lore is the story structure. It feels a little bit video gamey as the gang moves on from quest to quest. Oh, we're gonna fight. No, we're gonna fight. We're gonna search out who that was. We're gonna have words. I hope you're here to defend yourself. We're having words. I loved it. It was a breeze to read. The characters were amazing. The story was the sweetest story ever. The ending was satisfying and perfect. I'm so glad they, spoiler, returned to humans to live their normal life. I really am happy with their ending. I love the romance and Miles, we love him and Van. I feel like this one's you, Mari, okay? I feel like this one might be you. I like seeing more media that includes members of the Alphabet Mafia without it being their defining trait. Seeing characters be their authentic selves that also happen to not be straight is a nice change of pace. Many of the plot twists I didn't see coming, but a few of them I knew right away what was going to happen, but the story still sucker punched me in the feels with things I never thought of while telling me the things I knew. For instance, I knew right away that Gil and Hermes had a connection because of the necklace, but after half the book kept saying Gil was just an old man that was in need of help, I started to believe he was just a dude, and then bam, he was Hermes. That was definitely one of the ones that, like, I called super... As soon as they introduced the necklace, you're like, oh, he's clearly Hermes in disguise. Or the big one when Lore snuck out of her house and left the window open! That is such a stressful moment where, like, you read it and you realize that you know, regardless of whether or not you know who it was, although at that point you definitely think you do. But, like, as soon as you're just like, oh god, she left it open, oh. And then not only because, like, you know what happened, and then you know that she knows she left that open. And then you just start thinking about what it does to her. Oh my god, that's such, like, a punch you right in the face moment. I had wished that the final fight would have gone differently. Specifically, I wanted Lore to take Athena's power and use it to kill Wrath, but after thinking about it all month, I like how it ended. Lore wanted to kill Wrath for killing her family, but he never did. Athena did. So Lore killing Athena after Athena killed Wrath is a nice end. Plus, one could argue that Lore didn't really kill her, as she was a dead god walking because of the poison. Lore just hastened it. In the end, with Castor and Lore just wishing their powers away and them going away seemed like a quick way to end it. Also, maybe they mentioned it, but if Castor no longer had Apollo's powers, wouldn't his cancer come back and he'd die a painful death again? That's a good question. Castor had a whole new body that had been built for the Aegon. That's fair. That's like, I'd accept that reasoning. Yeah, no, I definitely get, like, it's a very neat and tidy ending, which can work really well, but doesn't always feel super great in all the right ways. Like, there's a couple books that I definitely get to the end of and I'm like, it just ends on too perfect of, like, a perfectly tied bow. I didn't really get too much of that feeling from this, but I definitely understand that, like, there weren't, you know, the whole, like, I think maybe it's a little hard to swallow sometimes when, like, all of your main characters or your main likable characters survive. Like, that's a little hard sometimes. Like, you want it, but also, like, nobody died. Which is both good and bad sometimes. I don't think they wished the Aegon away. The Aegon would end when all the living gods would sacrifice their powers. Yeah. Any good quotes? Okay, I got some great ones, by the way. But let's see what you guys thought. Sometimes the braver thing is to accept help when you've been made to believe you shouldn't need it. There's a lot of really good, like, community quotes in this. Of, like, accepting help from your community and accepting the people around you. I love how Castor is immortal and corny. All his terrible fucking jokes. Have you ever heard the one about the turtles on Broadway? He was a sellout. Honestly, screw that guy. Oh my god, the feminism in this book. Every time she puts a man in his place, I gain 5 years of my life. You've always talked too much for a woman. Ironic, given that this is the first time I've actually heard you speak for yourself. Did daddy loosen the leash? Fucking get him. Get him. Oh my god, is that the bathroom scene? The bathroom scene with Lore and Castor is, like, one of the best scenes in the whole book. Like, I love them both so much. Because, like, I love a good, like, bandaging up the other, like, when you have the pairing and, like, one of them has to, like, bandage up another one of them because they're, I love it. I'm trash. I love it so much. New Apollo being smooth AF. I was born knowing how to do 3 things. I wrote that one down, too. Oh. Lore versus Wrath. Sea, fire, and women are the 3 evils. God, what a douche. Oh my god. Ah! So good. That just, like, touches a part of your soul. Of, like, my cold black heart. It just... Your biggest mistake was trapping yourself on this island with me. Hell yeah. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8. Where is it? Where is it? What did I autocorrect here? Give me a second to translate this. Okay. He may possess power, but you have righteousness. Should even that abandon you, remember that I am beside you, and I will not let you fail. Which was really nice at the time, when you didn't know about Athena. That was a really nice moment. Love that. My favorite quote in the entire book, by far, comes from Reveler, on page 234. I knew you'd come for me eventually, you big hateful bitch. That is my favorite quote in this book. Hands down. Hands down. the way that I was like laughing so hard I almost cried. I knew you'd come for me eventually, you big hateful bitch. Oh my god. Oh my god, I love that. There are far worse things to become than a monster. Also Athena. She really just has all of the best ones. A person alone can be controlled. I had that one. I had casters. I was born knowing how to do 3 things. And then another classic, right at the end in that final battle. I've got another ancient proverb for you. Go fuck yourself. I really do love it. I love all of these. I'm really glad that most of us really loved this book. This was definitely our most well-loved book so far. I think, where's our breakdown? Yeah, so given that all of this, so 80% of us gave it 4 stars or higher. This is easily our most well-loved book so far. Do we want to find out what April is? It's right here. April. I believe our choices were Shadow and Bone, because the show is coming out this month. Children of Blood and Bone, Night Circus, and I've forgotten what the 4th choice was. So, drum roll, please. Our April book club book is going to be... Oh, thank God, I was gonna be mad if it was a 4-way tie. Oh, Shadow and Bone! We're reading Shadow and Bone for our April book club month. So, I know a couple of you have already read it. If you would like to reread it, feel free to join in. I will be rereading it because we're doing the podcast for the show. The show comes out April 23rd, so I'll probably make that like our cutoff for like spoiler territory. And yeah, so oh, Gideon was the other one that I couldn't remember. So Shadow and Bone, we're gonna start that one up as soon as we can. You can participate because you've already read it. Literally been watching the trailer daily. I saw the new one, and I saw, I don't remember if it was in the trailer, if it was just a screen, like a still that they posted, but like, the way, when they showed David, and I got so excited. I cannot wait. I can't fucking wait for this show. I really hope it's good. I really, like, the budget looks like it's there, you know, and I know she was heavily involved, and like, I got some questions on what we're doing with the time. I have a lot of questions on what we're doing with the timeline here, but I'm very, very excited. And if nothing else, Ben Barnes as the Darkling. Oh my god. Ben Barnes as the Darkling. Woo! Kill me, honestly.